All right, to kick off your gender equity assignment, the first thing you want to do is at Google look up EADA cutting tool. Once you get there, Equity and Athletics Disclosure Act, they're going to ask you what you want to do. Get data for one information, get aggregated data. You're going to want to download selected data. And depending on the school that you choose, I'm going to choose the University of Buffalo. So you're going to need to know, obviously, the state and the conference. So Buffalo, we're going to look at state of New York. They're in the Mid-American Conference. So as soon as you select those, the University of Buffalo is going to be the only school that comes up. If you have a conference that has multiple schools within the state, like for example, if you selected Ohio as opposed to Buffalo, you would have come up with Ohio and Kent and Akron and Toledo and Bowling Green and Miami, all within the state of Ohio. But in this case, the University of Buffalo is the only one in the state of New York, so you want to confirm the group. You're going to continue. Once at this screen, you're going to select the options and download the data. You're going to want all 5 years, so 2009, 2010, 11, 12, and 13. And then you're going to want to scroll all the way down, and you're going to get all data combined and click that on. Once you get all data combined, you're going to download. There will be a spreadsheet, a CSV file that will come up. It's going to contain a long string of information. I'm going to reduce the size of this file to show you. So you have 2009 through 2013, the University of Buffalo. There's 3 different data sets that are going to be important to you. The first is columns I and J, which is the undergraduate enrollment rate for male and females. So you're going to want to copy this information, copy, and go to the document that we've provided. So you're going to want to paste, special, you're going to want to retain, you want to transpose this information. Then you're going to go to the same on the female side. Okay, female undergraduate enrollment, copy, make sure you get it in the appropriate column. You're going to paste special, transpose, and what you have is a 5-year summary of the percentage distribution of undergraduate enrollment between men and women. The next important data set is the total participation rates of men and women. For that, you're going to go back to the spreadsheet, and you're going to look for columns G, T, and G, U, which are the total men's and women's participation rates. So again, do the same thing, cut the men's, copy, put it in the appropriate column. You're going to paste and transpose it. All right, then you're going to do the same for the women, copy, paste, and transpose. So the result will be you will get the distribution of participation rates for men and women over a 5-year period. The last important segment of data that you're going to be analyzing is the total expense by gender, and that's going to be columns AAC, so all the way over toward the end, AAC and AAD. So scrolling over, so you'll first get the total men's team expenses. You're going to copy and paste, special, transpose those figures. So you have the men's expenses, then you'll have the women's expenses. So you're going to copy, paste special, transpose. for all intents and purposes, once you get this information in, you can just look at the spreadsheet information. You may want to clean this up a little bit. Looking at the figures. Okay, convert these to dollars. Now all of this data, the summary stuff, is contained over here. So you have 45% in 2009 undergraduate enrollment, 47.9% participation, and 37% expenses in women's sports. So that's a carryover from here. There's a chart on the corresponding page, the next page, that gives you a graph. So what I'm looking for you to do, once you've completed this graph, you should go in here and put the name of the school. So University at Buffalo. Okay, put that here. You can also put that name here. So University at Buffalo. So you have the raw data that you're looking for. Now what I need you to do is look at this information based upon the gender equity compliance rules of thumb. Provide a narrative. It should be kind of a one-page summary of whether this school's in compliance, what things they could do to mitigate their gender equity issue. So you have women's participation rates are to be within 1% of the undergraduate enrollment. So the undergraduate enrollment is the blue line. The University of Buffalo is actually pretty good because in every instance the women's participation rate exceeds the undergraduate enrollment. That is not typical. You're supposed to be within 1% of that. They're actually over, but since you hardly or rarely see any male programs filing gender equity suits, they're over on this end. Where the University of Buffalo has some problems is on the second rule of thumb. Once the participation rates are locked in, and you can see that they're pretty much locked in between 46, 45, 47, 48, 46%. Within 3% of that is supposed to be the total expenses of women's sports. Well, you could see they're well off in the most recent year for which data is available. They're 11% points off. They're 12% points off. They're another 11 here. So they have some gap closing to do on this. And what you'd like to see is if where there's this phenomenon, there's this opening, they'd be trending where that was closing the gap. So the University at Buffalo is fairly ripe for making an allegation for a gender equity case against them because they don't meet the criteria, the various rules of thumb. So you have the data, submit both the Excel spreadsheet, the corresponding grid and chart, along with your one-page summary narrative of your interpretation of how they're in compliance, and go so far as to share what the institution might do to mitigate their gender equity situation if they aren't in compliance.